Welcome back to the Curiosity and Command podcast. This is part two because we had a power cut last time and it killed our recording, but we've somehow managed to scrape it back. And so I'll do round two with fabulous Mr. Brad Lotz.
How you doing, Ben? Thanks for having me back. Hopefully it'll go well this time, eh?
My friend, I've got everything crossed. I
Yeah.
hope it works. So we left off last time talking about purpose and approval, and so I thought we'd dive straight back in there. And if you could talk us through a time where you chased approval, please.
Yeah, no worries, Ben. So to be honest, the biggest one was definitely starting the Marines, like back in 2009. I suppose when I joined, I always kind of knew I wanted to join the Marines, but it was like a very last minute kind of choice to go jump in and do it. And I remember, I'll fast forward to a little bit of time. I was there and things weren't going well for me with the map reading and stuff like that. And one of the ways when I got back trooped, it was obviously a hard time. I was like, I didn't want to go back to another troop. I spoke to my mum, and the only thing that was my mum's talk kept me there. But the other thing that kept me there was the feeling of going back and people saying to me like, "Oh, you couldn't do that. Like you failed. You did this. That you did that." And thinking back to that feeling of like approval, it was like I obviously did want it myself to a small extent, but that approval of not letting other people see how good I was and how I could achieve this, it actually like it driven me a little bit. But like looking back, that's probably not wasn't one of the best things to do, but it did help me. And at that time, at that age, I didn't understand what was going on in my head in regards to purpose and approval. I was just like, I need to do this because I can't go back and look weak, or I can't look like I can't do something. I don't want to go back saying I failed. And I remember the feeling, it wasn't to do with me, it was to do with having to go back and the embarrassment of what people would think about me, what people would say. And it got me through most of the training, I suppose, that feeling. And then the more and more I kind of got into training, like, or through the training, that from a lot of my career, a lot of my drive was from other people's approval, and it was to do with like I wanted to look good in front of this person, or I wanted this person to think I was good at soldiering, I wanted this person to see I was a good bloke. And it was never really until like maybe starting in even into my AT career that was still there, and it's only recently now I was like starting this course and becoming more interested in the psychology of stuff and like the importance of being like achieving a goal. Like the more goals we achieve and the goals I've achieved in my life so far, I've never reached a goal and been like, oh, that's me, I'm happy. It's like it finishes and then I start on something else and I'm like, I want to do something else, I want to do something else. So that was telling me like obviously it was obviously purposeful but not massively purposeful. And then what I realized from now is the purpose was coming from, it sounds really Chad to say, but it's the journey, isn't it? Like I'm not really bothered about the outcome. It's like what I'm doing, like all the stuff I'm doing to get this outcome. I should have been focusing on that, and like I'm becoming a better person because I'm becoming more disciplined with timings. I'm putting effort in. I'm trying hard. I'm working well with people. I'm doing all these cool things, but I'm not concentrating on that because I'm concentrating on just achieving an award and looking good in front of people. But now it's came like swings and roundabouts for me. And anything I kind of do now, because I've kind of got into my later stages of my career, I'm really thoughtful about like what I want to achieve. Like, and nowadays I still have that. Like, obviously, everyone has an element of wanting to look good in front of people, don't we? I think nobody wants to look bad, especially in your job role or like be known as a bad person. There's always going to be that element of wanting approval from people, and that'll stem back to like when we were cavemen being in a tribe. If you didn't get on with people, it wouldn't go really well for you living by yourself, getting scrambled by a saber-toothed tiger. So we had to get that approval of people to be part of the group. So that stem or that feeling, that thought's a very powerful thought, and it probably won't go away. But it's how you deal with it, I suppose, and don't let it completely like guide your path. It's like there's going to be elements of approval, but maybe think about who you're trying to impress. So maybe not just some bloke that you're going to be working with for 3 years, and maybe twist it to say, am I doing this for my wife, my kids? Are they going to think better of me? Am I going to be a better dad, a better parent, a better husband for this person? And then it goes from the approval more to a bit of the approval, but more of the purpose. And you just seem to get a little bit more out of it when you complete a goal. So like I kind of think to myself now, like when I take on a challenge or take on a task, I'm like, yeah, there's going to be parts of it as approval, but is it going to make me better at being like a better person? Like, is it going to improve my personal qualities? Am I going to get more emotionally intelligent from this? Am I going to be able to talk to people better? Am I going to be able to like work with people better rather than just ticking off an award? There's a bit of a purpose there. It's going to make me a better human, if that makes sense without sounding too Chad, Ben. Bit of a waffle there, but this is kind of where I'm kind of at with it just now, with the thinking process of that.
No, it's a really great point there, and what's coming up for me here is I've written it down here as this external validation versus that intrinsic validation. And was there a moment that you can take us back to where that started to shift for you from this approval based outlook that you had through the start of your career, and then as you matured, which you naturally will do, into becoming more purposeful?
Yeah. So to be honest, mate, only like really recently, as in like over the last year, when I started doing this course that I'm doing, the performance psychology, because it forced me to read more about it, and like I started to realise that these thoughts, these feelings that I was having during stuff it's normal. It's not just me. It's like everyone gets this. It's completely normal. And then that like education piece to myself started allowing me to realise that like being thoughtful with your questioning and really taking time, and like something as simple as like just writing stuff down, mate. You know, like I put something I want to achieve to become a climbing instructor, and I had to be like really honest with myself. I'm like, why? Like, ask that question. That's a hard question. Why? Like, why do I do that? Like, what's it going to do for you? What's the reasoning for it? And then you think about like the try and get away from the approval part and the purpose. A couple of things of that is like, for me, yeah, purpose would be longevity. Is I can provide for my family. It's going to work really well for me when I leave. It's going to be a good source of money. I'm going to have a qualification that I can use when I have kids to take out and like educate kids, and I can take people that I've got are less able out on the hill. All these other things, rather than just looking at it going, oh, it's a really cool quote to have, and people think I'm hoofing. Like, that's the kind of things I'll do now. And it's only, like I said, that it started even more recently. I'm very, like, with my injury just now, I'm currently injured. And it's been quite difficult not being able to do any AT and delivering AT. But obviously, like, my identity now is an adventure training instructor, and that's gone just now because I'm not doing that. I'm literally doing office work. But like, I'm still quite happy and still having a good time because I've now got this performance psychology stuff, and I understand that I'm going to have all these feelings in my head about not being able to perform, but it's also made me understand that I'm actually better. I'm good at other things, not just that. That's not just me. I'm not just Brad an ATI. I'm Brad. I don't know what I am yet, but like, not just an ATI. Do you know what I mean? I can do other things, and it's opened up this opportunity I've got with you guys. It's opened up my more time to do my degree stuff, and like talking to you about other stuff that it's popped into my head, is podcasting, all this stuff. So there's always a silver lining behind it, and I'm just trying not to. And I think it's important for everyone to like not hold themselves as just like Brad the ATI or Ben the businessman, and just like, you're much more than that. It's like Ben the family man. You know, I'd like, you know, the eulogies at a funeral. Like, one I could say is eulogy at a funeral. You got kind of two types of eulogies, don't you? oh, this bloke was hoofing it being a soldier, this guy was hoofing it being a football player, and then another one is this guy was a really good dad, this guy was a really good father, this guy was an absolute hero, he was always there for his friends. Two different ones there, eh? Like, I know what one I would kind of want to kind of aim towards, and it's just kind of I'm trying to switch my thought process not to be intrinsic so much, the thoughts, and like I think about how my actions are going to also affect the people that I love and the people I'm around a lot of the time. But yeah, it's this course has just been class, mate.
What's really come up for me there is
Mm.
a massive topic around identity,
Mm.
and it's something that keeps coming up a lot in the veteran world, armed forces world, and that who are you
Mm-hmm.
beneath the identity of the uniform?
Yeah.
And I think we would all do ourselves a massive service if we spent more time understanding who that person is
Yeah.
when the job is taken away, when
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
injury happens.
Yeah.
How does that show up for you?
Um. So yeah, like kind of going back, I think like take like this the injury that I've got just now, like it's really kind of made me think about that. And like before, I was just all about like my identity was like adventure training. That was all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a really good ATI and get all these qualifications and be working like in the higher end centers and doing all this. But obviously, like what happens now, that can get taken away so quickly. And you've got friends and I've got friends as well that it's just all one little accident and all of a sudden boom, you're no longer in the military, and you're in Civvy Street and you just don't know what to do anymore because you go into a job. I'll give you a perfect example here, and this is where I got absolutely hammered, mate. So, I worked for a company called Skillforce. You ever heard of them? So, a company with kids basically, and then delivered a Prince William Award. And I did this job the first time I left the military. I had a gap in my service for a year, and I went into the school. And I went into the school, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm Brad, ex-Royal Marine PTI." And literally, mate, the kids were like, "Yeah, cheers, mate." Nothing, mate. Just like chinned me off completely and started just chatting and throwing stuff at me. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? There's like no respect at all. Just chinned me off. And that was like a real eye opener for me. But I loved it, mate. I remember I was working with another bloke. He was higher up than me. He was like a warrant or something in the army, and he lasted a week, mate, because the kids were beasting him. Like, no, he was just like, I can't deal with this. There's no respect. Like, they don't understand like what I've did and stuff. And I was just like, for me, it was just like an eye opener. I was like, wow. It's like I need to like prove myself in a completely different way now and become something completely different to help these kids get better and progress. So I was kind of. It just hit me there. And remembered when you said that, like that was completely stripped away of the uniform and stripped away of all accreditation, and I was just Brad, this bloke that's in steering in front of me trying to tell me how to do mindfulness. And I was like, well, it was mental. But I stuck at that for a good like 8 months before I joined again. And that was a journey in itself, like working with kids that just, they didn't care what you did. They just cared about you in the present, if that makes sense. So you have to like definitely rethink, rejig who you are and how you act, and basically put your ego in check, mate. Massively put your ego in check, because kids, mate, if you have anyone's worked with kids, you know that they don't care about what you've done or who you are. All they care about is what can you do for them, like, and help them like as best you can. But yeah, that was
Mate,
a
that
good
is
good
such a
experience.
great story because it
Yeah,
really does highlight that, what you did was great. Congratulations, you've had a fantastic career. But in the
yeah.
nicest possible way, no one gives a shit.
Nope,
It was a
they don't.
fantastic thing, but it's in the rearview mirror. Who are you now?
Yeah. Hmm.
Who is the individual stood in front of me as a 15-year-old kid? What can you provide value for me? And
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head there. It is check your ego. Understand that it
Yeah.
is not about you. It is about how you're showing up for those kids.
Yeah, it was good. It was a humbling moment, but a very, very, very worthwhile moment that happened in my life. That definitely, for coming back into the military, had such a broader um, ability to communicate with people. Much more, like I didn't know at the time, but much more emotionally intelligent, much more empathetic. All these things, all these words that I was like, what is that before I left? And came back in after having worked in Civvy Street with various people, like civilians in AT World and um, loads of children going through the Prince William Award. So I came back in with a completely new skill set that really helped me when I kind of transferred back in. Just benefited me really. So that gap in service for me was like a blessing in disguise. Yeah, really, really cool.
You've talked a lot about how these experiences that you've had through your course, through your military service, through your brief time in your transition between Royal Marine Service and then Royal Navy service.
Yeah.
If you could go back and advise the younger you at 18, starting out in your career, what would you tell yourself with the benefit of hindsight?
So I'm gonna throw this at you, mate. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't tell myself anything because I like me now, if that makes sense. So I'm quite happy with who I've become, and any sort of changing to what happened from me being 18 to now, I wouldn't let him, wouldn't tell him to change anything because I feel now everything I've done to where I'm at has shaped me into a reasonably nice person. And yeah, I think for me, like I know that cuts that question short a little bit, but nothing, mate. Quite happy with how everything went to shit and didn't work and yeah, fell apart and yeah, sound kind of just a little bit of resilience and always found myself kind of bouncing back on my feet one way or another off a few walls and stuff, but eventually you get there. But yeah,
I love
bit of a
that
short.
answer.
Yeah,
You're right. Life is going to throw things at you, and you can't stop that, but you can change your reaction to it, and it all
yeah,
makes a part of the tapestry that makes up who you are. And again, it forms your identity.
massively, massively does. All the people you meet, like every like longer interaction, like you think back and you reflect, like this person, like everyone's probably got a. I know I definitely do. I had like a massive. I remember the crossroads, like splitting. It was probably where I could have went completely different way to Brad military, Brad probably jail. Like everyone's probably had some sort of reflection to that in their life. And I can remember mine. I'm just like, wow, imagine just saying one different thing or making one different decision and paths could have went a completely different way. But yeah, it all went the way, all has went the way, and I think the learning is the best bit. And I like reflecting back to stuff. Obviously, it is good to reflect back and go, I wonder what would happen if I did that, but not for too long, because otherwise you don't really see what's ahead of you. You start thinking about it. You can definitely take loads of learning, but can't take it with you. Good to have memories, but they don't take it with you for too long. It doesn't help you too far in the long run.
Yeah, I think I personally I struggled with that for quite a while. I was dragging things along rather than
Yeah.
using it as a okay, that happened, cool, let's
Mm-hmm.
learn from it and then move on. It was, I was dragging these chains along, and they were just getting heavier and heavier the further away from the actual main event that had taken place. And when I was able to sever that chains, that was when I was able to then start thinking more freely and seeing more clearly as well, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of that resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think like I still like my if we're talking about that chain analogy, it's a good analogy, and it's like for me, not so much any kind of emotional attachment here, but it's more like a I'll go back to the map reading type thing. So learning to like map read in training, had a bit of a stinker with it. Wasn't really good at it. got back trooped, etc., etc. But it wasn't so much the map reading. It was it was the map reading, but didn't really get much direction on how to make it better, and getting told I was rubbish at it, bad at it, all this stuff. And that's like kind of adding change to it, because now I'm thinking I'm not really good at this, not really good at map reading, and the map reading then obviously that comes on to other things, and then you start doubting yourself, and that doubt is the chains. And then for me, that's stayed with me, and it still stays with me now. Even when I do, like how we talked, I think on the last part, mate, you said the higher you get up when you're instructor courses, the scarier it is, and the more pressure you feel. And that change are still kind of attached to me. Maybe not as much linkage, but I still definitely think them things that happened to me about not being good at map reading, being told I'm shit at map reading, and getting told I'm not good at this, that, and the other thing, that stays with you, and it's really hard to get rid of. No matter how much you do your positive self-talk and your psychological skills training practice, and all this you read and stuff, it's always there, and you're always fighting it. And I think everyone's got that in the back of their head. Like somebody at some points probably told them at school or parents, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, or give up on that. And people say it jokingly sometimes, but going back to the banter bullying type sketch we talked about as well, it's like what you say and do to people, especially in your first encounters with them, can have a lasting effect. And for me anyway, this is just my personal experience, the proof in that is really high, because I know I got told all this stuff when I was in training, and it's literally been with me, mate, since like then till now. And even now I still have to like talk to myself out of saying you're like rubbish at map reading when I'm teaching people map reading, because again, that was massively like approval. Like I was going through all these courses and the map reading side of things for like an approval piece, like to show people I'm not gash at it. And I got to that stage of where I'm at now with it, and I am good at it, but I still in the back of my head when I'm teaching people and that, and it's still there, a little whisper saying, you're shit at it, or whatever, but you just kind of push that back. But like that's kind of exactly what you're saying there. Then chains in it. That's just one of my things. That there's other things that are a chain to me as well, but that's one of the ones that always sticks with me. From the military side of things, and then we can go back to like the schools and like not being good at maths, English, and constantly like telling myself I'm not good at this, and then find out you're dyslexic, and then. But like again, like we could argue the point, like why am I doing this master's degree? Is that for purpose or is that for approval? Because somebody told me I was shit at school, or I couldn't spell, or I'm dyslexic. Is that? But I know me now doing this with you and working with you guys, it's more of a purpose thing, because what I'm going to be able to do for people, with nice, good people, meeting people on podcasts and doing this jobs that I'm doing with you, I'm going to hopefully be able to help people. And that's going to be better than just looking for somebody to say like, well done mate, you did a master's degree and whatever. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much as well, because I don't feel so much pressure to prove to anyone I can do it. It's just like me having a good time and getting better at being a better person for myself rather than other people.
So what's coming up for me there is, I think I'm starting to understand the difference between approval and purpose, and please correct me if I'm misinterpreting it. But from what you've just said there, the difference is in your intention. And I think we spoke about this last week.
Yeah.
Is the way you show up and the way that you frame it and your reasonings for doing it. The task is still the same thing. You're still going to do the course.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the background why that changes.
I think so, mate, because it goes into, like approval, for example. You got motivation, right? Motivation, like let's talk about that in a way. So if you're on a course just to, and this could go two ways, you're on a course and you're doing it just solely to like look good or whatever. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. That can be good, great for people. People can enjoy that motivates them, class. But inevitably, like, your motivation's going to run out, isn't it? Like, you're going to get up on days and you're going to be like, oh, Jesus, mate, I cannot be bothered. And even like, maybe it will be enough to motivate you to get out of your bed, that if you don't this person's going to take the mick out of you, and that person's going to take the mick out of you, and people are going to laugh at you for failing. But inevitably, the motivation's going to run low. It's going to drain. Because no one wakes up every morning motivated. But like going back to that kind of lecture, I did structure as well. Having that purpose is rather than just the approval. If you've generally deep down you're like, I really want to achieve this for these deeper meanings or this deeper aim, or I've got a deeper reason for doing this, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a kick out of the bed, or a little bit of a boost on that hard training session, or that hard research paper you're writing, whatever it is. If it's solely to do with you're doing it for you or people you truly care about, rather than your bell end boss or your bell end boss, or your bell end mate that's like trying to like tell you can't do something. For me anyway, that's how I see it, because like it's harder when you're doing it to impress others, but if you're doing it to impress yourself, there's like you've got a little bit more of an intrinsic motivator, like to do it, because you're doing something for yourself. And you're trying to make yourself better for people that truly care about you, rather than these external factors that inevitably they're not going to be in your life for very long. Like military careers, about 3 years you spend with some random people, and then like you do in life, you move on and you forget about everything. Forget about every person you kind of work with, but maybe a couple of close friends you stay in touch with, but inevitably everyone moves on. But yeah, that's the way I see it for myself. Like, if I'm doing something tough or something hard, like this course I'm doing, mate, if I was doing it to impress them, I tell you now, I wouldn't be doing it anymore, because like being dyslexic and being struggle with spelling, yeah, you've got all these top apps and stuff like that nowadays to help you, but it's still tough going. I find it hard to study. Like, I don't find it really hard to concentrate all this stuff, but because I really want to do it, and the purpose is greater than just to prove X, Y, and Z to somebody else, I find myself more motivated to study and more motivated to do it, and I want to impress the right people. Like, I want to impress my family, my mum, like tell my mum that I've done like a master's, and she knows how bad I was at school. It's like, that's a good purpose. A bit of approval as well, yeah, definitely crosses over, but I think like family members and people that genuinely care about you, that's okay to want to have approval from them, more than some random person. That makes sense, Ben.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
On that note, on the motivation and then into structure, you could interchange discipline with that. Do you put obsession in those same categories as the kind of flow of motivation into structure into discipline? Can you reflect on that a little bit?
Did you say obsession?
Obsession.
Yeah, obsession. Yeah, I think like being. I'm trying to think if I've ever been obsessed with. Yeah, I definitely have been obsessed with stuff. But I suppose I just see obsession as like a high level of motivation that doesn't really last that long for. Like I if I've got an end goal, like, and again I'll just reflect back to like my AT stuff. If I've got stuff like a big expedition that I'm planning, or a concentration or a qualification, the word could be obsessed, but it's like an excitement as well. I've come to realize that I will get obsessed with stuff from like, if I really enjoy it and I really like it, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. The obsession piece, I suppose, gets bad when you maybe let it intertwine with other what would the word I'd say, other key times, like going back to the structure. If you've built a structure on a Sunday and your obsession is taken over your time block of family time, that's when obsession would probably be bad, or not bad, but like it would have a negative effect. But people being obsessed with stuff, I think it's cool, mate. I think like it's cool to see. It's just how they manage it, I suppose. Like, we've all seen people that probably are, maybe we would say, but like we could say it over the top, but like that's to us. We're all different. Like, my over the top to your over the top's differently, and they'll just see themselves as they'll probably that person that's worse than obsessed probably see somebody as they're obsessed. Like they probably don't see themselves as obsessed and see somebody else as obsessed. They see themselves as normal. So it's all individualized, isn't it? Like obsession. Like we could both say to each other, like, oh, we're obsessed with podcasts. Like you'd be obsessed with podcasts more than I, because you've done 20, 25, 30. I've done none. So I could look at you and go, oh, you're obsessed with it just because I've done none. It's that kind of concept. Do you know? Obsession, good thing, definitely. If you just feel yourself getting obsessed with something and you can keep that train rolling and use it to keep that motivation, keep that kind of get up and go, use it, like great. But yeah,
I think that thought experiment on obsession is a really
yeah,
fascinating one, and I think there's different, obviously, forms of obsession. You can have your
yeah,
obsession that then bleeds into addiction, and then obviously the negative connotations with that. But
mm-hmm.
something that really resonated with me there is what you said about it being time capped.
Mm-hmm.
Obsession, I think, by its very nature, will have a cliff, and then once that time is up, it's very difficult to then become re-obsessed with it
Mm-hmm.
at a later date. And so
Yeah,
I'm the same as
yeah,
you. I don't see obsession as a negative, because I think you should ride that wave while it's there, because that can
yeah,
really accelerate you towards mastery.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, the obsession piece, like, and going back to what you said about that cliff, that's interesting because you could probably see that as like burnout, couldn't you? Like burnout's a massive thing. You can see it all the time in high performing people. They get that burnout, and that's probably to do with like that obsession, I suppose, and not being able to switch off and focus the mind off of stuff. And that's when it becomes a problem, isn't it? Like when you can't switch off and you've got like no time. That's when these like books like Peak Mind, if you've ever come across that really interesting book about attention and being able to mindfulness, getting away from like all that at work, like just leaving work at work. But I suppose a negative obsession would be taking your work home and constantly doing it at home and never having like any time away. And then that cliff, like you said, burnout, that's not good for anyone, is it? Like, so I think it's like goes back to being just, it's hard to say, but being self-aware of like when you're or having educating yourself about some of the early signs of like the negative effects of obsession, like your burnouts and stuff like that, and just seeing if you categorize into them, and just being aware of how you feel and what's going on. Are you still enjoying it, or are you just like, are you still driven to do it, but the enjoyment's not there? You're just doing it for validation from other things or whatever else is going on in your life. But yeah, definitely, mate. I think it is a good thing, but it's just like, I guess it all goes back to I guess it's funny to say in moderation, obsession in moderation. Yeah, so that's ideal if you can just turn it on and off, class. But yeah, but yeah, it's a good thing. But like everything in moderation, I suppose.
I want to be respectful of your time, Brad. But before we
Yeah.
leave, I think
Mm-hmm.
it would be pertinent of us if we didn't make this practical. Have you got any tips for people listening on how you can avoid burnout? If there's any
Mm-hmm.
tips that you can give on how to optimize your life, how to live a good life, you've talked a lot about how to be a good man, how to show up well, how to make your family proud. Have you got any tips surrounding how to live a good life?
Yeah. So I think going back to, for me, what's helped me avoid getting too stressed with work, and like inevitably, I don't think I've been burnt out, but I've been pretty, like everyone has been pretty full on with, I just can't switch off my brain and finding it hard to sleep at night. That was the biggest one for me, actually. When I start not being able to sleep at night, I know there's a lot going on in my head. And then going back to, if anyone had watched the lecture that we got about structure over motivation, is little simple things like what I use at night if I have got a lot on or before I leave work is the brain dump thing. It is getting stuff onto paper. Like I found that's really helped me avoid having a lot in my brain. So I'm getting the sleep because like the biggest thing for performance and being able to do your job is sleep. So we need to kind of protect that. So the brain dump, which I did talk about in one of the lectures, if you're interested, you can go and have a listen to that as well. And then the having the key time blocks is massively important for me. And like for example, for me at work, I will go into work early. And I know from like 7 till 8, people are going to ditlock me, mate, because people just want to talk, and that's completely fine. Like I like talking, I like being social, but inevitably I'll kind of have to pull myself away from that, and I try and isolate myself into a room if I've got something I need to do, get myself in there, and I'll do it. Because my main aim is I want to get. I don't stress myself. I've got work. I need to get my work done. So these time blocks are really important. But like with your time blocks, also have a little look at how long you can stay focused for. Like people, it might be 30 minutes, it might be 40 minutes, but after every 30 minutes of hard work, take like 5 minutes to go and get a drink or do whatever. Like break your day up into that. And make yourself like a morning routine is another one. Like and protect that. So for me, my morning routine consists of getting up reasonably early, drinking loads of water, having a good breakfast, and doing fizz or doing some sort of physical activity. Because then I know, like, if I go into work and work sometimes the diary doesn't sit the way it's going to do, and loads of admin comes at you. At least I've done fizz. At least I've done something hard. At least I've like had a good bit of scran. At least I'm hydrated. All these things don't sound really important, but generally, like when you're busy, like being hydrated, having good scran, like talking about like how much energy your brain uses to making all these little decisions. Hydrated, scran, good fizz. At least you started the day well. I've made the mistake a couple of times of not following my morning routine and then going into work thinking, oh, I'll be able to do fizz in the afternoon, and I didn't get fizz because all the admin piled up, and then I was fretters. So yeah, and then just to summarise, then because I've waffled there, is protect your morning routine, make a morning routine up, and stick to it. Don't let anyone change it. Be protective of your time with that. Put some time aside in the morning for dits, and then have a tight time blocks during the day that you're going to put in some hard work and get your admin done, and then protect your evenings as well. And make sure that you don't take your work home with you as best you can. Sometimes you will have to, but don't if you don't have to. And then the big one at night, if you're still thinking you've got loads of stuff bobbing around your head, just fire it onto your notepad, because then it's on your notepad. You're not going to forget it for the next day, and then just move it into your next day's admin tray. A couple of things that have helped me not get super stressed out with work, mate. And everything, my job's not super stressful, but it is for me because I'm gash at admin. but yeah, it's that's kind of things I like to do, mate. But I think the biggest one is that that morning routine, and just sticking to that structure and get good at saying no, which I am not good at, and I need to get better at saying no to things. Because I like to, you think you're helping people, and you might be, but inevitably you're eating up your time. And then if you're saying yes to all these things, that time needs to come from somewhere, and inevitably it's going to come from time that matters, like family time, fizz time, all this stuff that's important for your health, sleep, all this stuff. That time's going to have to come back from somewhere. Just say no if you don't think it's your job or you don't think you've got the time for it. Easier said than done. I need to work on that.
I think that should have its own podcast in itself.
Yeah,
I made a note
yeah,
of that, is setting boundaries, because I think so many people do struggle with it, and
yeah.
in
It's
that
hard.
pursuit of trying to be a good human being, you
Yeah,
want to be able to help people, you want to be in service, but not at the detriment of your health, your wealth,
yeah,
your family.
yeah. 100%, mate. I will definitely get better at that. I'm well aware that I need to say no more.
Well, let's make a plan to make a plan. And
Yeah,
like I said, Brad, it's a pleasure to have you as part of our team. I'm very much looking forward to working with you more closely. Like you mentioned
cheers,
there,
man.
you did a webinar which we can put a link to in the bottom of this show. And thank you for last week. Thank you for today. Thank you
No
for
worries, man.
what you're doing, and being so vulnerable as well. We've covered a lot over the last two podcasts. We've talked a lot about identity and and the struggles with crossing the line between banter and bullying, and the effect that people can have on you that you can carry for such a long time. And so thank you for sharing those stories with us.
Ah, you're welcome, Ben. No problem, mate. It's been great. Thank you very much for having me.
And hopefully this recording has stuck. Cheers, Brad.
No worries. Cheers, Ben.